So in this video you'll see me install some AliExpress auxiliary lights on the Inazuma. Here you can see me just testing the wiring harness to see if it can fit the switch through the gap with the button removed. So yeah, I just have the spade connectors disconnected on the switch here and testing if it fits. You can see these bog standard AliExpress ones, there's loads of them cloned on there. I bought this kit for £36 roughly. Yeah, it's a generic box. It came with the grills and stuff to protect the front from rocks and whatever. Very cheap, to be honest. This is the 3D printed lock mount which is in the way currently of the light, and I'll be placing the mounts there for the lights. Just show you how it works out of curiosity for now. I'll be moving them lower on the engine bar so I can still mount the locks. Yeah, you can see it just fits like that. So yeah, that's the positive terminal which I'll be connecting to the in-off power hub. I believe it's 15 amps max per line. Should be adequate for the LED lights. This is the route I'll be using where the heated grips wires are currently. They got a bit loose, it looks like, over time. I mean not the connectors but the wiring itself. Yeah, and there's Oxford. Okay, so that's the test fitting of the switch, and it works with the Oxford bolt and spacer of the Oxford heated grips. So I'll use that and mount them both together. The switch is a bit of a tight fit between the heated grips wire and the stock cabling, so it was quite a pain to get it there, but here you can see it installed. It seems alright, both are easily accessible. I wanted to put it on the clutch side so it's usable with the throttle one. Yeah, you can see the wire sticks out straight for like 2 inches before the wiring harness gets loose, so it's a bit rigid and tough to kind of wire. It was tricky getting it to stably fit there. Here you can see some plastic brackets that comes with the bike stock where the other cabling was routing, and I just used that to route the switch. And with the relay, this is the other wire for the light on the right of the bike under the tank, and it's not coming out correctly here. It's a little high. I should be using the gap quite below the tank, which you'll see later on. I'll correct it. So here's the lights. They come with these thick washers which you're supposed to use with the grill. If you're not using the grill, you don't need these washers. If you are, you need to place them inside the holes or the circles first, and yeah, then you've got these 2 hex bolts, and they have their own washers too, so each bolt has a washer. The hex bolts can fit 2 sizes of washers for the light, and you want to use a smaller hole ones, otherwise the one with the bigger holes is for the pivot bracket, and if you get them mixed up then the washers won't fit the pivot bracket for pivoting them up and down. So that's what the light looks like with the guard installed and the lower bracket. These are the 4 washers that I use for the nut and bolts for the pivot bracket. Basically, if you got it wrong, if you got the washers mixed up, they won't fit this bolt, so you would know if you got it wrong. So this is the Posi Tight, and it's a waterproof version with the silicone thing. I got it from America a while ago, and yeah, you can see it was waterproof, and it'll hold the connection to the positive. I cut the terminal, and yeah, see what we used it to connect to the in-off power hub. You can see it's powering up, about 10 seconds it takes. It's been really good, the hub, like reliable for a while now. There you go, the light switch lights up, which I heard some other kits it doesn't work, the light. You have to connect the third wire, but in this kit it works, which is nice. So you know it's like on and easily visible, I suppose. It's the camera screen as well. So now I'm cleaning up the cabling. You can see here it's routed with the relay and the wires here. I don't think anything gets too warm or hot in this section that the wires will be like damaged. Here you can see I correctly routed it under this time through the hole to the second light. You have to be careful about the fan because it's quite close to the wire, and it might be worth cable tying it out of the way. So here's everything installed. I did the valve clearances as well on the same day, so it's late in the night, and here's roughly what it looks like. And here's what it looks like in the daylight. It makes the bike look a bit bigger and wider. Yeah, they're slightly unevenly mounted. I think the right one in the video is slightly higher than the left, and it's quite tricky to get perfect because the engine bars might be slightly misaligned or something, and you have to mess about with rotating it as well as using the pivot to get the equal height. So this is the headlight only you saw just now, and now obviously the auxiliary lights. They're noticeable and they're not too bad in the daylight. I think they do add to the visibility of the bike. I must note I'm using the night breaker LED, sorry, the headlight lamp. It's the Osram night breaker, so it's already brighter than stock. So it's actually quite decent the way it lights up the road. Here you can see me slightly adjusting the height of the light, obviously, and the beam pattern, trying to get it aligned with the headlights, like roughly, just for comparison. You can see it adds quite a bit to the sides, quite a bit of light, but it's whiter than the Osram 200% bulb. Yeah, we can see the width again. It helps light up the surroundings a bit more. It's not quite cornering style lights, but actually it doesn't look like it dazzles oncoming drivers from what I've seen, compared to I think other fog lights. If they don't have this type of beam lens style, it's like the sort of the oval sort of lens. It causes it to, I think the oval lens causes it to be like a low beam instead of a dazzling sort of high beam. So yeah, this camera is not ideal for showing the headlight, but this is what the stock headlight looks like. It's quite bright, and I have the LED side lights as well. That's why they're white. And yeah, you can see with the auxiliary lights, it's quite bright looking. It looks dazzling in the video, but in real life it's not that dazzling. It doesn't dazzle you. You can see the headlamps look very bright on this camera when they're not blinding people, obviously. So it looks brighter than it really is in terms of dazzling people. I mean, here's some examples of how much light it adds, basically. Overall, I think the kit's for the money. Like, obviously, it cost very little, so I'm not fussed. We'll see how long it lasts, I suppose. So the reasons why I installed auxiliary lights was I had crash bars on this bike, and sometimes on unlit roads it has been really dark where the headlight just wasn't adequate. So I had the Philips LED side lights installed, and also the Osram night breaker bulb. They made a significant difference, and actually I think they were good enough for me to not have problems in the dark anymore with this bike. But I added them anyway just because I had the crash bar available and they were so cheap, and it was sort of a project I wanted to do for a while. I had spare connections on the Inov Power Hub, so I thought I might as well use them. So just a few other notes. I read in a review that the switch is a failure point, a common failure point for these with corrosion. So when I reconnected the connector, I added silicone grease to the pins, and it was heat shrinked as well. So around the ends of the heat shrink, I added self-amalgamating tape to really cinch down the cables and waterproofing the area so water can definitely not get in. There might be a chance of water getting into the switch itself, but that's not really easy to remedy. Maybe somehow you can open the switch and spray it down with XCP rust stuff or ACF50 or something, because that does work on electronics, but opening the switch is a bit tricky. I also put silicone grease on the relay pins too, and obviously the battery terminals, so nothing corrodes. And I was using a waterproof posi tight anyway, so no water should get in there. The guards on the front of the lights, I think I don't know if they inhibit the light that much, but they do make cleaning the lenses quite difficult, and because they're mounted low, there's definitely going to be a lot of dirt being picked up in rainy weather, and I guess we'll see how good the waterproofing is long term, but they have been out in one rain spell already, so that's another thing to note. So it might be worth just taking them off for easy cleaning, but because they're mounted low on my bike specifically, there might be a chance of rocks or something hitting them, so maybe they're useful. But it's good that they're included in the kit because they're very cheap, I guess. I know. I actually think it's quite ironic. Some brands they sell the guards like Denali and stuff for about the same price as this kit, if not more. So it's quite good. I don't think you can complain, basically. Also, another thing with these lights is if one goes bad or something, you can easily get another set for fairly cheap, like roughly the same price, because the harness seems to be universal amongst these lights, and you can try out different style versions and stuff if you're not happy with this specific light kit. So you can just get another 2 set of lights and swap them. The lights did actually come with a female clip with small amount of cable too, so you can make your own harness to connect them with. So it's pretty good. Pretty good that it comes with everything. And the final note is on idle with heated grips on to a medium settings, the battery drops to 12.67, something like that, the lowest, just idling. So there is a significant power draw to these. As soon as you start moving, the batteries goes to 14 volts plus, which is fine, but I wouldn't want to be idling with these for long with the power draw.